Starting our recording, and we are ready to go. Good morning, Dionne. Good afternoon to everybody who's joining us from the East Coast and beyond.
Good morning and good afternoon to everybody. All right. And what we're doing today, everybody, thank you for joining us. We're really talking about some of the fundamentals of starting up your inside sales team, as you can see. And there's really 5 key areas that we're going to talk about today to kind of give a skeleton outline. And then we've got another webinar scheduled where we're going to talk about some of the meat that can go on that particular bone, if we're talking about those analogies. And we split this up because we really wanted to, 30 minutes is a good amount of time, and we didn't really want to go over that given everybody's schedules these days. So thank you for having us. I encourage you to look at my LinkedIn profile as well as Shannon's. Quick overview, I've been in sales and technology for 20 years at this point, built and scaled numerous inside sales teams. Inside Sales by Design is 4 years old at this point. So we've also got a wealth of knowledge outside of just our 4 walls of being a practitioner, which isn't bad, but sometimes it's nice to have that outside perspective. Shannon?
Definitely. So welcome, everybody. I am so excited to be working with Dionne on this webinar. She is somebody
Likewise.
I have just admired for such a long time. She's done so much work with the AAISP, which is an incredible organization. And as I too have started and ran sales operations team that have had an inside sales component, I've asked her questions, I've cried on her shoulder. And so we thought, why don't we take all these things that we've done wrong and right and share them with other people so they don't do the wrong things and they do the right things. So
absolutely. Yeah, we learn from each other, right? So we don't make the same mistake. We can go make new ones at the end of the day. Yeah.
Good. So, one of the things that a lot of people say is why inside sales? And I can remember very specifically working with a company that was backed by private equity who said, why do we even need inside sales? Our salespeople prospect. And so I said, let me launch into education mode and teach you about all the things that inside sales can do. And one of the things I like the most about having inside sales inside of your sales ecosystem is that they can really help you to set up scalable, sustainable practices so everybody can specialize in what they do best.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right, Shannon, are we ready with that to go to the first component?
Okay, let's go.
All right. So here's the agenda for everybody. I'm sure you memorized it and it's near and dear to your heart, but these are the 5 things that we're going to go really quickly through and talk a little bit about. Our goal is to kind of give you some of the context behind these things. So to what Shannon was just saying is really the first thing we want to talk about is team structure. So if you have an inside sales team, and again, when we say inside sales, we're really meaning it from the blanket umbrella statement. So think about it as an umbrella, right, of inside sales. There's your BDR team, your SDR team, your inside sales account executives. Maybe you've got some customer success. Maybe you have some hybrid folks, right? But a lot of the times, what I personally have been a part of as a practitioner and what we see in the marketplace is, and some of you may chuckle, and if your boss is with you and this has happened, don't look at them, right? Where they go, hey, we got budget. Go do an inside sales team. And literally, that's the only direction given. And so what happens is we miss out on the opportunity to drive alignment, right? So here's what I mean with that. So a lot of the times our executives are good. Let me back up just a second. We are all good at different things. We all have different strengths. And sometimes our executives fall into or have the strength of maybe the strategic direction and strategic vision. And for those of us at the practitioner level, we need to fill in the details. And so if they say, hey, we're going to start an inside sales team, to what Shannon was saying, we almost need to go into education mode and say, okay, great. Here are the different flavors. What are we trying to accomplish? What is our overarching goal and mission as a company? And how can we have this component contribute to that goal? So those are just some of the questions we want to ask ourselves. And so for those of you that are relatively new to this, or even if you're at the point where you have your inside sales team, but maybe need to make some moves to re-swizzle, there's a technical term for you, but really there's only 4 types of inside sales. I did not put customer success on here, but you might have that lead generation function, discrete, hybrid, or the teaming model. So whatever it is, really own that and triple down on what it is that your team is going to be good at or what they're going to be focusing on, and ruthlessly say no to everything else. Okay? So those are the components. So if you're taking notes and you're going, how do I apply this? For those of us at the practitioner level, I encourage you to take a step back today and go, what is my team doing? Are they doing it well? Are we achieving our goal? Because a lot of the times we get into our day-to-day and we just kind of get in it and we don't take those moments for retrospectiveness.
I like it. It is so true. And so that really is our first point, which is making sure that your sales team is aligned to your corporate goals. And the second one we want to make is your job descriptions are key. And so once you've decided what that alignment is and which of those 4 types your inside sales team is going to be, you need to decide what the job description is going to look like. So inside sales is really growing at an astronomical clip. All of the studies are showing it. The studies everybody's doing is showing, with the rise of technology, the ease that we can use virtual technology to reach out to people and talk to them, and how comfortable buyers and prospects are getting with just working from the inside, we're seeing a 300% growth in this profession. And it is a great profession. It's a noble profession. We love it. So it's not going away. Once you've decided what you want your inside sales team to look like and what their alignment is, you need to say to yourself, who is the best person for me to hire? And we all know that when you've got a bad apple in the bunch, it ruins the rest of them. And Dionne and I both really firmly subscribe to this quote, which is hire character and train skill. If you've got somebody who's eager and they're ready to do it, and they've got a really good background in retail or restaurant, and they get that sense of urgency and that ability to really dig into what the customer needs, that's awesome. You can train them on the skills needed for inside sales. They are going to be coachable. They're going to be ready. And those are the people you want in your team, and you want that job description to reflect that as well. So putting that together, these are the types of people that you're looking for.
Absolutely. And to what Shannon is saying, once you identify what it is the team is going to do, and you want to sit there and say, okay, we're going to have BDRs or SDRs, what are the attributes of that person, of that ideal candidate, right? And that allows you to pull through into your job description. So now at this point, the third thing that we wanted to talk about is, as we understand what type of inside sales function we're going to have, as we roll that into writing job descriptions, and we're kind of creating our culture and all that good stuff as we go, then we want to talk about onboarding and training. If you're able to, for those of you, how many of you do have an onboarding and ongoing training program? Now, I also want to say this with a cautionary tale. I've worked with small companies and big companies, and there's a heavy mix in between. So at the end of the day, it doesn't have to be hard, and it doesn't have to be super structured, right? Our onboarding and training program is really talking about, how do we get our team? We just spent time thinking about strategy. We just spent time crafting job descriptions. We just spent a boatload of time recruiting and interviewing and trying to date these people into our company, right? And putting our best foot forward. And the worst thing we can do is say, welcome to our company. Here's your desk. Bye. Okay. So what we want to understand is our onboarding and training needs to encompass some of these components that we're talking about. And really, as a leader, as a sales leader, rhetorical question, who's responsible for the job description and hiring and onboarding? Your salespeople. At the end of the day, it's us as sales leaders, right? So a lot of companies say, well, we have onboarding and HR leads it. That's fine, right? My question to you is, does your onboarding truly cover sales training? Not product training, sales training. Those are two very different things, okay? So at the end of the day, I'm going to violate some copyright here, right? And I am a huge Star Wars and Star Trek fan. But, you know, at the end of the day, onboarding is really assimilation. And it's us being able to say, hey, at this company, at our company ABC, this is how we do things. I'm not going to disregard somebody's experience and, you know, their thought process and the things that they can bring to the table. However, here, this is what we do, right? And to maybe have a smaller example within our family, right? With my kids, I say, hey guys, in our family, this is what we do, right? We're kind. We try not to speak to each other in anger, things of that nature. And so those are the things that you want to say. So for example, for your team, it might be, hey, you know what, the BDR team at this company, we show up on time, we show up prepared. As silly as that sounds, those are the things that we need to take into consideration as we start building out our onboarding plan and our ongoing training. Because then sales training is really drinking the Kool-Aid, right? That says, hey, not only are the expectations on onboarding here, and we're going to give you all this knowledge, the sales training is, this is our company's sales methodology and how we approach things. This is our approach to opening the call, asking questions, next steps, guiding. So we really want to get into that mindset of not only onboarding folks to bring them up to speed, but then training them so they can stay current and really stay fresh at the end of the day. Because without sales training, guys, and without onboarding, this is what happens. So if you're the company, and you know, there's no shame here, we've all been it and we've all done it. However, if you're the organization that doesn't have an onboarding program or doesn't have an ongoing sales training program, I really encourage you to sit down today and chart one out. It can take you really no time at all to do that, because the goal is we have a strategy, we have a job description, and we just talked about onboarding and training. Now, those three things go together at the end of the day. Okay. Anything to add, Shannon?
It's so great. It's so great. We actually just got a comment from Tim who said they do have onboarding and training, but it needs work. And he's really happy with the level of coaching, which Good. Is phenomenal. That's so great. And I think, you know, Tim and everybody else who is probably feeling it on the inside, nobody has perfect onboarding. Nobody's onboarding is perfect. And that's okay. We like to preach, you know, progression over perfection. Just keep working on it. Every time you hire somebody, make it a little bit more consistent, make it more like your brand. And Dionne has taught me many times over many years, what HR does is just orientation to the company. What you do in sales is onboarding to your sales culture. And so don't let HR take over what you want to do when you're teaching somebody what it's like to be on your inside sales team.
Absolutely. And there's value in all of that, right? So it's really our job as sales leaders to harmonize all of that. And so in this particular case, if you have your onboarding program, and for those of you that do, a lot of times what happens is we go, oh man, I got to redo my onboarding program. And we overwhelm ourselves because the task is so big. And so to what Shannon is saying, pick one thing. Because you guys, we are all too busy, and sales is we all mush ourselves and our teams, right? So let's show ourselves a little grace and be gentle and say, you know what? August might be a little slow. Here's the one thing in my onboarding program I'm going to change, right? So, and give yourself permission to do that at the end of the day, because we do not have oceans of time, so, or oceans of resources. So what can we do to make an impact? And sometimes it might be a verbal direction. Sometimes it might be reswizzling some PowerPoints or whatever the case may be, but give yourself that SMART goal, right, at the end of the day. All right.
It's great. You know, one of the things that we think is so important is your leadership and coaching style. And as you start to build out an inside sales team, and we do have quite a number of people on here who already have over 5 reps, which is awesome.
Yeah.
I applaud you for spending your time trying to get even better at your craft. But leadership and coaching comes after the onboarding, and it is so critical for us to do this completely, constructively, often, closing the feedback loop, talking to your people and asking them what worked, what didn't work, making sure you are keeping it very simple and very specific. If you've ever been in a situation where you've had somebody who said, I'm upset you didn't do this thing. I'm upset that you didn't follow through on this thing. And you think, well, I didn't know that you were expecting me to do that thing. That was when somebody gave you the responsibility for something without understanding they were holding you accountable to it. And so the quote that Dionne's put up here is, keep it simple and be specific and subscribe to this theory. So if you're simple and specific and have a linear thing that says, these are the things I expect you to do when you have your standing 101s, when you have your annual review, nobody's going to be surprised if they haven't met the goals that you've set for them, because they were simple, specific, smart, and actionable.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yep.
So we wanted to talk to you a little bit about the difference between a boss and a leader. And if you just close your eyes for 1 second and think about it, you know one of each. You worked for somebody who stands at the front. This is what you're going to do. I'm telling you to do this, and do it because I said so. And then, of course, you've got the leaders who have said to you, hey, I'm your leader. I'm the person that's going to help you understand how you can get there. I'm going to roll my sleeves up. If you've read that book, The Servant Leader, that is somebody who is there to exist for their people. And so this is just a really great graphic that I love so much, that Dionne has done a Bright Talk webinar on, that I recommend you listen to, and we're going to send out in the follow-up, which is the difference between managing and leading and how you can handle those two things.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So, it's not about you. It's not about you. It's not about you. And if you think about the way that you've been managed, if you manage up, if you manage down, whenever you've got a team of people that are depending on you to help them set the sails in the right direction and put the boat where it's going, and you're calling out the cadence, it actually doesn't matter so much what you want anymore. And Dionne and I have had many discussions about why people move into sales leadership. Why do you want to manage an inside sales team? Why do you want to be somebody who's in sales leadership? And it's not for the glory, because the pressure is going to be harder. It's not for the payback, because you're probably not going to make more money than you did as an individual contributor. And there's got to be something in this inner drive that says to you, I want to help people achieve their goals. I want to help our company spread their message and help our clients achieve their missions. And so it's really important to take that center and remember, whenever you're launching an inside sales team, you're not the star anymore.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yep.
So this is a good one. This is a fill in the blank. 70% of managers. 70%. It was so astonishing. Dionne had to go to the next slide because she didn't want to see this anymore. The top challenge really is the variance in engagement. So, you've heard this before. People don't leave companies, they leave their bosses. And that is so true. You're setting the tone. You are the company to the people that work for you. They're not so concerned about the person who's sitting at the top, sending down the orders to the executive team. You mean the world to them. And that 70% says that whether your people are engaged is really dependent on you and the things that you do. And so your one-on-one meetings, the way that you interact with your team, that sets the tone. That will help them to understand what your conditions are, what their conditions are, and how engaged they are with your company.
Absolutely. And just for citing purposes, the #1 top challenge came from the AAISP trends report. And the training and development has been in the top 3, I think, the last 3 or 5 years at this point. And then the 70% number came from Gartner probably about a year or so ago.
This just goes back to show you what we were talking about, and you guys have heard it, and you've probably also felt it yourselves. So think about those managers that weren't terribly engaged with you, that were really involved in only managing up and not helping their people. And think about that as you're launching an inside sales team, or as you're growing your inside sales team and people are moving into more specialized roles. You're setting the tone. It is you. And so you want to think really carefully about what that coaching cadence means to them. So make sure you don't cancel because you've got something else that feels more pressing. This is the most pressing thing for them. Make sure you've got an agenda so you can say, what are the things you want to talk about? Here are the things that I want to talk about. And make sure that it's very specialized so that they feel like this is value added time and that they're getting the face-to-face feedback and coaching that they need from you.
Absolutely. Yeah. I agree with you, Shannon, on all of that. It's super, super important, right? A friend of mine always says, we all want to feel like the unique snowflake we are at the end of the day. And the right leadership and coaching and caring, you guys, and you know, I want to, again, a cautionary tale. When we talk with our reps, it's not therapy and we're not their parent, and I get that, right? And so there's a very professional way to interact with our teams that can drive a human component, right? This isn't the 80s anymore, and greed is not good. Profit isn't bad either, right? So we definitely need, as leaders, and this is why not everybody is cut out for it. It is a fine line between, hey, we're paying you to do a job, you're not delivering, we need to talk about that. So it takes some skill to look at somebody and go, hey, what you're doing is really terrible. Or what you're doing is really good. So we need to practice those skills for ourselves and for our team. Okay, how many of you have dashboards? I know I keep asking all these rhetorical questions, right? I'm assuming everybody. The next question is, on a scale of 1 to 10, how useful are they? So I love this quote from Deming, right? You guys, so many times, how many of you have the rep that comes to you and says, it's not fair, or this happened, and leads from marketing suck, right? Oh, my goodness. If you do not have data, right? Again, we're kind of back to our leadership piece, and we're back to, did we hire folks for character, right? And train some of the skill? Do we know what everybody's doing? But when we get people that come to us and go, man, these leads from marketing are terrible. Ah, thank you. I see that you're frustrated. How many leads? Why are they terrible? We want to be able to acknowledge what this person is bringing to us, but then we need to start diving into the data. Otherwise, we're doing everybody a disservice. So this is from Predictable Revenue that says, for a rep, if you have dashboards for your reps, and there are widgets on the dashboard that do not pertain to them, that show them how they're being successful, that show them how they're getting paid, remove the widget, right? It's kind of like going, hey, if you go up to a stoplight, there might be a magenta color on there, but nobody really knows what that means. So all it's going to do is cause a traffic jam at the end of the day. So we need to be very, very mindful of the stop and go lights that we are putting into a dashboard for our people. And they should be components that remove friction and that make it very easy for them to do their job. And it makes it very easy for you to do your job, okay? So again, this is a super simple one. If you've got an SDR team and you're looking at dials and conversion, it can absolutely look like this. There's nothing wrong with that. So I would encourage you to look at this and go, do I need a daily dashboard? Number one, so my reps can stay focused on their daily activities and what is expected of them. So to what Shannon was saying is, we're now back to some of the expectations we were sharing, right? And we want to have that thread go all the way through these 5 components, right? I was in a training years ago with a company, and I'm a little embarrassed to share this story, but I'm going to share it anyway. And it was God bless them, HR training, and they were talking about ambiguity as a core competency. Yeah. Holy cow. right? And they had quotes from Gilda Radner and a few other folks as far as embracing ambiguity. My hand went up. And I with all due respect, right? First off, Gilda Radner was a comedian and she was dying of cancer when she put that quote out there. So I appreciate that from a human perspective. If as a sales leader, I go to my boss and I say, hey, we kind of missed our goal. However, here's all the nuanced things and the ambiguity that comes with that. You guys were still going to get fired. So when we think about all of these 5 components, we need to eke out every trace of ambiguity. I'm not really sure what I do if a lead comes in here. What is my revenue split? What does this look like? What do I do? How do I do it? How do I know if I'm successful? There is 0 room in our sales organization for ambiguity, which is not the same as nuance. I want to be very clear on that. Okay? So you guys, at the end of the day in sales, we either have a team that is high performing or we have a team that isn't. So when it comes to reporting, we need to be very clear and make it very, very easy for our people and us to be successful. This one's a little bit bigger. This one had a little bit of the leads in there, right? But you can see it's very clearly organized. So the left column is leads, and you've got deal pipeline, and you've got deals paid out. The purpose of a dashboard is exactly a red, yellow, green light. The purpose of a dashboard is not so you have to interpret something, right? So again, if sometimes we need to go back and reswizzle some of these things. So, and for some of you, this might be the easiest place to start. I think there's value in reverse engineering some things. So there's some of your next steps for yourself with this. Again, everybody's going to get the recording and the deck, so no need to hurry up and take some notes. So we did go through a lot. We went through 5 core pieces of starting your team. We went pretty quickly. We also wanted to share some resources. Shannon?
Definitely. So thanks to everybody who took the poll. We've got so many of my favorite people on, which are the ones who are already running a team. 67% of the people on this call right now have 5 or more inside reps already, and 17% have 1 to 4. So we're so pleased with that. And for the rest of you who are planning to start a team this year or next year, you're doing the right thing. Be thoughtful about the way that you're laying it out. And, you know, Dionne and I have agreed. We have read almost all these books. We've read even more. We just did not want to overwhelm the slide. But when you're looking at an inside team, one, it is absolutely a great choice. It's a really good way for you to look at opportunity cost, and say, what is the best way for us to approach these things in our organization? And these 5 things that we've given you, we want you to really ruminate on these. We're having a follow-up webinar where we're giving you even more details that we didn't want to overwhelm you with today. But when you're looking at the idea of setting up an inside sales team, or you're looking at specializing your sales roles even more, these 5 tips, they're going to be iterative. So you're never going to set up all 5 and be like, that's it, I'm done. That's it. I'm finished. I'm inside sales. I'm a professional. Because your reports are going to change. The way you get leads changes. The way you hand them off changes. Your expectations will change. Your board is going to tell you your goal is now 15% over what it was last quarter. These things are going to happen. And when you see these things, once you've got these 5 ready, just keep working on it and work on it with your team and be communicative and let them know, hey guys, here's what we're up against, but we're up against it together. And you're never going to wonder what I'm holding you to, because we're going to talk about it all of the time. And then that really dirty statistic that I don't like and none of us likes, that says salespeople have a lifespan of 18 months in a company, that will start to go away for you. Mm-hmm. You'll see career inside people that will want to stay with you for long. You'll see people who will want to move into your group from other groups in the company. You'll start to really develop that reputation as employer of choice. And that's what we're hoping that we can help point you towards today and then next month when we follow up with more details.
Absolutely. Very good. Thank you, everybody, for joining today. We appreciate it.
Thanks so much.